Okay.
Yeah. It's also showing your next slide, Luke. It's showing both.
Let me do this.
Click slideshow. Yeah. Well, yeah.
I can't even get up there because of the. There you go. Okay, hold on. I don't know why that's showing.
I don't have a preview with coming attractions. That's
okay. I don't know why that's showing that.
That's okay. We'll just.
Yeah, we'll just go.
Focus on the big
time. You want me to get started? Okay, so, what is workplace literacy? This is actually taken from one of the definitions that I found. It's the skills employees need to have in order to be successful at work functions and manage the demands of their jobs in a healthy, productive way. And these skills include essential skills and employability or soft skills. So a couple of reasons why we want to offer a workplace literacy class, increasing employee skills in the workplace, providing a foundation for lifelong learning as people and businesses grow together, improving worker skills, creates a more productive workforce for a competitive economy, and of course, more revenue for the company. That's what companies care about, right? The bottom line. And then looking at helping adults retain employment and demonstrating effectiveness in serving employers and obtaining type 4 MSGs. We actually have a, let me see. We're going to have to put this on there later, but this is, can you all see this right here? The 6 primary indicators of performance?
Yeah.
Okay. So, this is from the Common Core Measurable Outcomes under the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act. And you'll see, how it's broken down, right here for employment rate, and then also divides by youth as well. But we just really want to look at the ones that really impact this under workplace literacy, and that's going to be measurable skills gains that we talked about. One of the reasons why we do this, looking at satisfactory or better progress report towards established milestones. And that's what you're able to get, from an employer. Actually, I think the training provider would be interesting. I think I would want to take a look at that, especially for IET programs, or actually just for training programs might be quite lengthy, to see if this is something that we can kind of plug in for a milestone that students are typically struggling with. But today we're just talking about just the workplace literacy itself, just with an employer, not a training provider. And for the employer, part of that is just looking at what they need to be more efficient and effective in the workplace. And then they come up with maybe some milestones that we create together. And we'll talk more about that. But it helps us to get a measurable skills gain, which is a type 5 MSG. Type 4 MSG, I'm sorry. And then looking at the effectiveness in serving employers, which is one of the 6, core program, really looking at the measurable outcomes here for this, and retention with the same employer. So most of these people who do these workplace literacy programs or participate in them, and they're successful, they continue to work for the same employer. And then obviously, upskilling them a little bit with whatever milestones that they need. These employers tend to become repeat business customers as well, because we want to make sure that we're being effective in serving employers, not just their employees. And then obviously looking at employer penetration rate, we're providing quality engagement to all employers. So those are the main reasons that I see, which aligns not with just what we're trying to do in our classes and the regional programs and really servicing adults in our community and employers, but also looking at how that's aligned to what we do for adult ed and also the state combined plan along with WIOA itself. So you can kind of see like the bird's eye view and what we're doing. And then we're going to go ahead and talk a little more about what we typically do to get things going in the process of it. So Sharon.
So before we continue, we've got a nice sized group on here. You can either come off mute or put it in the chat to talk about if you have done a workplace class, and if so, where? Have any of you done, some of you have probably done a lot of these.
Sharon, I'll go. This is Nicole. So we did, before COVID, we did a workplace literacy class in a local company that did printing of designs that went inside restaurants. So we worked with the printing department, and we worked with the shipping department. We worked with some of their employees on English language skills and conversation.
Did you do those groups together? Printing and shipping?
They were two different shifts, so they were separated based on the department they worked in.
And they were ESL?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Anybody else want to share where they've done a workplace class? If you're not responding, have you not tried them yet? Can we just have a raise of hands, or I'm just curious to know where we are with doing these.
Hey Sharon, we've had workplace classes. We just have not tied them yet to type 4 MSGs.
Okay. And in the chat, I just saw Xavier said, that's good. The English Empowerment Center has done workplace literacy classes with employers for many years. This semester, the employers are a university's housekeeping, dining services, and accounting maintenance department. That's wonderful, wonderful. It's interesting. Now, Luke, I think, might have a different experience. My experience and what we've heard so far is that the employers who are most interested in this are working with English language learners. Luke, has yours been with native speakers?
Yes, that has been the case so far. We're looking at trying to expand this more to some of the manufacturing companies that are requiring individuals to have some, basic like measurement skills and things like that. So we want to go ahead and, partner with them and provide all of that, including maybe some of the safety. So we're getting ready to do some of that.
It's been, it's a goal for me to try to get employers with native speakers who want to do this. Right now, our job market is such that, they don't even care if you have a GED. So the skills that they're lacking, maybe employers are willing to teach. But so when the workplace classes that we've started, how do you get started? You can click the next. So when you meet with the employers, really trying to figure out what their overall goal is. Working with our ESL learners, the employers have wonderful intentions and they want their folks to learn English in 8 or 10 weeks. So the first thing that we've had to do is really define what are you trying to do? English language acquisition is not going to happen in a multi-level class in, 16 class sessions. So really helping employers narrow down what it is they hope to accomplish by doing this with their employees. And then going in and gathering information. So I go in, I take the instructors with me, we meet with the supervisors, and then we take a tour. Click the next part. So, we take a tour, and that is very eye-opening for us to see exactly what's going on. Try to pay attention to conversation you're hearing on the floor. What are the workers saying to each other? What is going on around them? On the tour is also a good time to make a little chit chat. The supervisors are very happy and proud to be showing you everything, and say, oh, well, so how do workers call in sick? Do you have is it automated? Is there a Spanish line? Oh no, we just somehow managed to get it work. Sometimes their kids are telling us why they're out. It's like, would you like us to cover that? Oh my gosh, you can do that? So there's a lot of information exchange that the employers want to do this, but they don't really know all that we can do. And at the same time, all that we can't do in those the short amount of time that we're with them. So we do the tours, we work with HR, and we try to bring in several supervisors. If they are crossing shifts, both supervisors. It's important that everybody is on the same page. We have had problems in the past where an employee wanted to leave the line to come to class, and the supervisors, hey, who do you think you are leaving here? So everybody has to understand and agree upfront what's going on, and work on these very specific goals. Once you do that first information finding, you can come back and work with your instructors and see, where does this need to be narrowed down? Does your focus seem to be more on speaking and listening? In one class, they really want them to be able to write emails. So in that class, it was more digital literacy and actual email etiquette. So this step 2 with the goals may have to be revised a couple of times before you narrow down to what you're actually going to be covering. And then setting milestones. This did not occur to me the first time we did this, and the MOU template that has come out from the state office is really marvelous, and is a really helpful tool, so that if you're doing an 8 to 10 week class, put in some milestones that by week 4 they will be able to do these things. It gives you a chance to get a goal if someone should leave your course. So setting milestones, that's good for the employers and it's good for the employees. So I've talked about this already a little bit. The content obviously is the meat of the matter. This is what we do really well. I mean, we love to get in there with our instructors and see what they need, the vocabulary, the processes. Are there particular forms or log sheets that they are always doing? Make sure the main contact is aware of everything that you're going to cover, revise if necessary. We have not had any NDA non-disclosure issues, but that would come up at this point if there's anything in their processes that we need to agree that we would not discuss outside of our classes. again, when you come back and they're going to say, oh my gosh, but you're not doing this, this, and this. And it's like, well, in this amount of time, this is what we feel employees can do. If they move around, if we're wrong and they move quicker, then we can add some of these things in. Making sure that the employers are aware of the milestones, and then as part of your curriculum development, designing an assessment that's truly going to measure the skills that you are trying to teach, and what you want their mastery level to be. We've worked at an 80% mastery level. And I should say that the ones that we have done have all been in manufacturing with Cisco and with Trex. I think I've told this story before in some of my discussions about this, but one class that we did in doing prepositions, and they're doing up, over, behind, and a woman goes, oh my gosh, that's what that means? Well, that's why they were saying that all the time. So every time a forklift was going behind her, saying behind so that you don't step back into it, she did not know what that meant. So, and when we did the debrief with the employer and the HR person was sitting there, I mean, they went a little pale, because obviously that's a little bit of a safety issue to not understand what that meant. So in the course of your work, you're probably also going to find some things that you think would be easy, and that will actually take a little more time. So we're also evaluating after each class, how's it going? What do we need to do next? So what we want the company to do, and we can lay this out in the MOU, is, they're recruiting. They're the recruiters who are going out on the floor and talking to supervisors. One place does it kind of this broad announcement. Others are really zero in on particular employees that they want to help advance. They can't move to another shift until they have a better mastery of English to be able to handle if a machine breaks down, that they can talk to someone about what part is broken. So, but we do, the company is recruiting, they're encouraging them. Their involvement is really crucial. When employees see that they're being seen, it is a marvelous incentive and motivator. At one place, the HR director comes in almost every class at some point and just gives, hey, good to see you, how's it going? And they sit up a little taller in their seats. So having a really good relationship with the employer is really important. Finding a schedule that works for the employees and the company's schedule. Luke talked about, the bottom line is still the bottom line. So, if production speeds up and they need more people on the line, we may have a problem. We found out one of our places was Cisco, that's food distribution. Mother's Day is a huge ramp up for them. All restaurants are stocking to be ready for Mother's Day, and also getting ready for school to start and school cafeterias. So we now know, and working with them, trying to work around some busy periods, because they all want to do it. But if they need overtime, they need those employees, and our students are going to take the overtime rather than come to class. So trying to think about that before it happens, but certainly you learn after it has happened to kind of ask those questions. I talked about this already. All supervisors, so everybody on every shift needs to know that these people are approved to leave without there being any reluctance or hesitance. That we had that happen at one plant, and that was really detrimental to the employees. They were embarrassed to leave. They, even when somebody wasn't saying don't go, they were still hesitant to just come off the line. The company needs to see what the assessment is, agree to the assessment, see that it really is going to cover what they want. Company expectations should actually be company challenges, expectations / challenges. Understand the number that you need to make a class work. You can't just do this for 4 people at a time. They will provide the appropriate classroom space. We did have some issues being in an industrial park where they did not make us sign an NDA, but they had a lot of clampdowns on their Wi-Fi usage. So in one place, we were given a different password each session we went in. So make sure that if you're using technology, that there's a place to store it, place to keep it charged, and that it works, and that the Wi-Fi will work when you come in. So, the challenges mainly are making sure everybody is on the same page. We can't teach English in this short session, that it is really a very targeted session. What I have learned from doing this is no wonder these folks can't come to our regular leveled classes. Their work schedules are so, well, I'm not smart enough to work in any of these places. I would never be able to know what my day on was and my day off was. I mean, they have a little card. So I understand why these folks really can't get to our classes. And so they really do appreciate that we're coming in. But they're not going to learn English in this amount of time. They're going to learn workplace English direct to their employment. Going over the schedules. I mean, the class we're going to do now is we're going to do 6 to 8 in the evening, and that will cover 2 shifts. So there's an A, B, C, D shift. So the AC shift, it will be doing the class first. But so we have to have 2 teachers, because the one shift will work Monday, Wednesday, but the following week they work Tuesday, Thursday. So we in effect have 2 teachers so that we can handle both shifts. The employer is paying 1 hour of the 2-hour class as it overlaps the shifts. Again, making sure all the supervisors understand what's going on. Attendance. Again, if it's overtime, that's really something that we can't help. If the employer needs them to work, they want the work. But being in your MOU that if the person's at work, we expect them to come to class. That means if they're working, they've come an hour early or they've stayed an hour late. But the expectation is if they have been at work that day or are going to clock in for work that day, that they are coming to class. And then just making sure your space is appropriate. That has not been a problem for us. They have lots of spaces, conference rooms, etc. And the other thing with any challenge is just, you need that direct contact that you can say, hey, so-and-so didn't come today, or the Chromebooks weren't there, and then it's an easy conversation. Luke, what did I leave out?
I think you covered everything. And I think all of you in here know what it takes to set up a class. This is very similar to setting up any class, with the exception that it's very specific, geared more towards milestones. And when you're talking about milestones, it's really just something that has been set by the the specific employer. Every employer is going to be different. These challenges will be different as well. I mean, right now we have two two workplace literacy programs, one with Hooker Furniture, Sam Moore / Hooker Furniture, and the other one is with Runkin Pratt. So the manufacturing for the furniture, and then the Runkin Pratt is more for like assisted living. And it's so different, right? Because they're doing different things and they have different needs. For example, we started our Runkin Pratt program, and we had like 26 employees showing up, 26 students. But we were fortunate where we had a bunch of people there to help with the process, to get them registered, to do everything. And we've just been learning along the way too, like even with space and things like that, staffing, that you just have to kind of get things prepared for that. Your MOU is very important, especially like what Sharon was talking about, being very specific with your goals. One of the things that we're looking at is with our outcomes and the follow-ups, and being able to come back and do a survey within like a couple weeks, so we can see like the impact that it had on the employees and just the workplace. And part of this is our branding strategy with my volunteer coordinator. As a matter of fact, as a result, we just went to the Workforce Education Summit with the Regional Business Alliance here, last Friday. And we have, at least 2 more employers who want to do these literacy programs. One of them is with Southern Air, and they're huge. They started out really focusing on HVAC, commercial, and residential. Now they've gotten so big that they do all of their own, like construction stuff that's included in there. And one of the things that they told me was, well, we can't bring all the employees together for this because we're so spread out. We're so big now. And I said, hey, don't worry about it, because there are other programs throughout the state who are doing the same things and providing the same services, but this is something that I think, our population in terms of individuals who actually need our services, they can't always come in because they're working, but they actually need this specifically for work. So it works out really well, and our employers need it. So it's not just that, but when we went and started doing this with Runkin Pratt, the thing that they said that really stuck out to me was, and they've been asking for this. That's what they said. They've been asking for something like this, and they just didn't know where to go. And we actually do this, and, it's all free, and we're coming in and we're working with them and we're helping them. And, we're trying to increase our gains, obviously. We're trying to increase enrollment, and this is an untapped population. If you hadn't been doing this, this is great. This is another way for you to get more students and for you to get some gains. And honestly, it's a whole lot easier to get these type of gains than it is to get like a EFL gain, like 40, 50, whatever hours, and you typically have a captive audience and they're being paid to be there. So it just works out really well. But the biggest thing is we're meeting the needs, of these employees and employers. And then a lot of these students who are in these programs, then they start taking, our English classes outside of work as a result, so opportunities for that as well. So, I think it just works really well for us so far. And I think it would for you all as well, as you're looking at areas that, that you need to provide services in. This would be one of them. And I think a couple things that I think I've learned, and which I put down, is make sure that you have a point of contact with that specific company, and typically that person that you can go to, and that person that would be there, maybe would even show up to the class to see how things are going, and you have that communication. The other one is maybe getting an organizational chart, so you can kind of understand how their business operates. especially, depending on what it is, for us, for the Runkin Pratt one, they're so big, that we also have to identify the departments that they go to for assistance, like what they need, who they would go to, for sick leave or for more supplies. And then, of course, their policies and procedures and being able to understand that and focusing on what they need and working with the employees, and also, their supervisors to address some of the gaps or some of the challenges that they see. I think it's fairly like any other class, when you start contextualizing, this is more contextualized to an employer and a specific need, right? A milestone. So I think this is much easier because it becomes very targeted, and you don't have to require that much time with it. So
I think what makes it work is you really have to drill down to where their pain points are. Because if you're out on the floor, actually, there are enough, in our case, most of the workers are Spanish speakers, and there are enough Spanish speaking employees all working together that as long as one can understand what the supervisor has said, they all get the information. The plant works pretty well without us, but can it work better? Trying to find out where really is it impacting the employer that your folks don't speak English. And that's when we come up with, oh, if something breaks on a line, they've got to be able to describe the parts. If OSHA comes through, are they able to speak to an OSHA inspector and talk about what's happening on the line? Calling in sick. When Luke talked about the org chart, sometimes it's how to pronounce names. They really are uncertain how to say Mr. Baumgartner. And so, just practicing how to say someone's name so they have confidence when they're speaking with them. So it's where does it really hurt the employer that the employee is not speaking English well? And then everybody can see the benefit of it. I love this MOU. I love this template. I think it has worked really well. So
this was like done by a couple of people, including I think it was Jenna Kelly, right? That did all this. So this is something that's available to everyone.
I just think it's a great opportunity to, you're putting exactly the timeline, things that you're covering. It shows kind of what's going to be in your assessment. Are they going to have dialogues? What scenarios? And this is where your HR people can really help. What is the kind of conversation that goes on? What is the dialogue that needs to happen? What are the forms? I mean, one of the places that we did it, they were really interested in leadership. And so there were a lot of dialogues of wear your safety glasses. What they want them to say is, oh, I see you're not wearing your safety glasses. We really want you to be safe. Can you put those on? So, I mean, it was a lot of tone and nuance. And so, in that case, doing lots of scenarios was an important part of the assessment. And all of that can be written into your MOU. Xavier is asking where this is. I don't know where it's posted.
I think it's
certainly
still
share this
at
with you all.
DOE.
Where is it, Katie?
I think it's still at DOE because it still hasn't been
still in
fully,
draft.
Right.
Yeah.
Can we add this to this recording here, Katie? These documents?
I don't have a problem with you sharing. You mean share it to
like-
people?
Yeah. You know, like when people can go and watch
I
the
don't,
video, they can access these documents.
yeah, I don't, that, I would assume so, but I'm not in
Template
charge of
example,
the
I
recording
think
to know.
Okay.
But it should be at some point coming out from DOE once it makes it past the draft stage.
and Jenna, and yeah, they
Um,
contact Jenna and she can tell you yes or no. She's a
I'm
good
pretty
contact.
sure it'll be a yes, because we've been
Yeah.
using it, right? You know, and just at least this is something that's somewhat standardized, you know, for you to start the process.
Nicole's got her hand up.
Thank you. I have a question. I heard Luke say the word free. Do you guys charge for these classes? If so, how do you figure out that cost to be able to charge businesses?
We don't charge. And I wrote it, into our schedule of classes that we plan to do several of these. What happened, Nicole, with this last group where we realized we really, really need 2 instructors to be able to cover this shift change. The company has made a donation to our foundation on behalf of adult education. And that amount was based on just what we would pay in that extra instructor.
Nicole, I think if you're gonna charge any money, you would have to do this up front with that MOU, and make sure you negotiate that. Because one of the things that we're looking at, when we partner with employers, and that's why we're able to like start really pushing this a lot in our region. And I told you we're having other employers that are really interested that I need to follow up on. Is because we really do a branding component with them where, whatever that's part of working with us on this, and the fact that it's free. And I want to say for now it's free, but because it costs a lot of money. I mean, I'm paying like I told you for my Runkin Pratt, I'm paying 2 or 3 instructors there, sometimes, and they're it's like $30 an hour, for each instructor. So we've looked at this, and we've also calculated a lot of this stuff. And of course, my volunteer coordinator, he used to work for ExxonMobil, and he does all this marketing stuff. So one of the big things that we're doing right now is pushing a lot of the branding, where we take everything from them, they're taking everything from us with that branding piece. And the next step that we're moving towards is having them pay for some of the brand awareness that we're going to be doing. And that's why I mentioned earlier, one of the things that we're really looking at is making sure that we're following up, looking at the outcomes of what the impact that we have, what surveys to the employers and employees who participate in this. So we can actually, identify that and say, hey, this is the impact that we're able to have, with this. So that's one of the things that we're looking at, and that's going to start involving more money. And when we do, it's going to be stuff that we negotiate up front, because I want to expand more of these services, right? But the more that I want to expand, the more that I need to expand, the more money that I get. And to be honest with you, my money is shrinking every year, because I don't know about you in my region, because the formula is still, not correct, because it's geared more for HSE, as opposed to what we're seeing, the population growth in, English language learners. And now we're pushing more towards, workforce and employers and things like that, that we need to find some funding, and they can either donate, towards the fiscal agent or foundations, or in this case, we're pushing donating money towards some brand awareness, things that we typically need to do and use anyways, just because it would just be easier for us just get like a lump sum to do that, for it. So it's not really like program income for us, because we don't charge at all, but but that's just me. That's just my region, and everybody's going to do it different. That's why I'm saying that if you do, there's definitely ways for you to just put that into the MOU and make sure that you get that up front.
I'm starting to struggle with it because as we do more, there are only so many that I can fit into the budget for free. So then that doesn't seem, so if I've got it in that I can do 3 or 4 of these and the 5th employer steps up and I can't do it, that doesn't seem fair. So if these really pick up, I think it's going to have to be some involvement monetarily from everyone so that it's fair. Our program has never done program income, and the college really doesn't want us to. They're happy with this new thing that's just happened of where they make a donation to the foundation on our behalf. But I'm starting to struggle with it because I can see how it would not be fair for the next employer who stepped up and I couldn't afford to do it.
Yeah, but that's why I'm saying it's so important for us to be able to identify the impact, just from the employees and for the employers, so that when we, approach another employer, we can show that to them, the results. And then that's when we can ask for money up front. Like right now, we're still young in the infancy. This is our 2nd year doing workplace literacy programs, and we're going to welcome as many employers who want to partner with us, because we're seeing that, in terms of the growth, and we're seeing the results. I've had like 100% success rate with these workplace literacy programs. I'm in like 26. If I get all 26 people just for this one class, that's going to help the local, the locality there, and we're doing through Bedford, so that's going to really help their numbers, greatly. So that's why we're really pushing for this, because it's successful, it's effective, it helps employers and employees, and at the same time, I'm growing the program. I needed to grow the program. We did really well last year with 51%, or something like that. My goal this year is at least 60% for us to meet the state target performance goals, across the board. And we have to take a look at where, because last year we really focused on EFL gains, but that just takes too long and it's not as effective. This is more effective. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to say we're not going to focus on helping people, get their EFLs. We will, and we'll continue to do that, but this is another opportunity for us, which is more, I think, of a lower hanging fruit, so, and we're really also addressing and helping the needs of individuals who really need it the most, who need adult education services the most. So that's why I'm really also pushing for this.
Xavier had a good question in the chat that kind of goes along with this, Luke, when you're trying to show our value. He asks, what are the types of questions you ask in those impact surveys?
Charlie is creating this right now, and I'm pretty sure, it's going to be things like the efficiency that they're seeing, maybe looking at like comfort level, communication, things like that, or maybe like workflow. Yeah, he's in the process of doing all of this. I'm fortunate to have someone with his expertise, but it's definitely things that will allow people to see, or identify some of the results that impact on, like their job, and also on the overall working environment. So, but we would be more than willing to share that too, when we finish some of this, and we'll, like I said, we'll continue to tweak some of these surveys as well as we continue to do this. And I'm sure it's going to be different for each industry sector as well. So
do you have the same survey for employers and employee?
Yeah, some of the questions will be the same, but obviously it's going to be different for the supervisors and employers, because they're going to be looking for certain things too. So yeah.
Nicole, did you charge for yours?
We did not the first year because it was a pilot, and then I forgot we did another one right the year after COVID. We did it with a tulip factory, and we kind of piloted that one as well. But those were, of course, the years where we had extra money because things were still kind of iffy with getting in person for classes, and there. So now I'm on the opposite end where, like Luke said, my ELA numbers are huge, and we're a little short on funding to even run what we have to run. But I definitely understand the getting started part, and that's kind of why I like to use the word piloting and kind of getting some things going. But I just don't know if we could maintain it for a significant period.
It's really tough because I really, these folks, you get in there and they're so appreciative of learning and of learning English. And I would really like to find a way that we could get them all to come to our leveled free classes in the community. But I think we'd have to have a 6 a.m. class. I'm not, and I don't have any teachers who really want to do that. I feel that's a more equitable way in some ways. If we could get everybody into our free classes, that would be terrific. But coming in where they work, I'm afraid it's going to move us into a place where we're going to have to get some income for doing it.
See, your classes are free. Our classes, we charge a small fee. So I feel like it's not equitable that I'm charging somebody that's walking in from the community who may struggle to pay that little bit of money, where you've got a business who is making money, has income coming in, and we're going to them to serve them. So that's kind of my challenge with that, is it's not equitable then to the everyday student who's in our regular classes. And although we have all kinds of scholarships and support that we try to, we write off tuition for lots of different reasons. That's my challenge there, is that we've got a for-profit business who has a need. And, but I will also say we have another training provider in our area. It's not an adult education training provider, but we have another training provider that we compete with in our area. And they get a lot of these things because they are a for-profit training provider, but they don't charge. They make money through other ways. So we're kind of struggling with, the competition part, and it's fine. They do what they do well, and we do what we do well. But, just kind of hearing you guys say, I can see the benefit of it being a starting point. I just don't see if it's something that we can maintain as our funds continue to decrease and as we're being pulled to offer more and more community classes. So just kind of have to think it through, but thank you for your input.
Well, yeah, it is a struggle. And Nicole, this is maybe off the subject, but since you're a program that charges, do you think that helps with retention?
It does, because we call them scholarships, but we basically offer free classes to ELA, ESOL student parents and family members, and Head Start family members. That was a partnership with our school systems. And we do see where there's some of those students continue and they are dedicated, and then we have others where it doesn't matter because they didn't pay any money, and then every year they come back for free, and they come for 3 or 4 classes, and then they stop coming. So we don't make it we don't want it to be a hardship, and partly that was to kind of build the family literacy idea with the school systems. But it's true. If you're not always going to have to pay for something, some people don't feel like it's as dedicated to continue to happen. That's not everybody, but we have seen that, yeah.
We have serial registrants, every year they come up and they register, and then, by October they're gone.
Yeah.
The community college is very happy that we are free. It is a good outreach arm for them. So for as long as we can, I guess we need to do that, but I can see advantages of there being some buy-in.
It's just more difficult for me just because I would have to set up a whole system, collecting money and things like that. But that's why, going back, like working with employers, they make a ton of money. Like the ones that I've already partnered with, they make a ton of money. I mean, Sam Moore, I mean, like they do like high-end luxury customized furniture. Okay. And then they have the lower scale one where they do for like hotels and things like that. And same thing with Runkin Pratt. Our partnership with them isn't just for the workplace literacy. They also, do CNA programs and Med-Aid programs and things like that. They also have venues, wedding venues. They do catering as well. So, we also do like the Serve Safe, food manager program. We do, CNA too. I mean, it's just like a lot of things. And they've pretty much, I don't want to say really cornered all the assisted living facilities here in my region, but they have a lot of funding. And the truth is, it doesn't take that much, maybe like, a couple, like maybe $3,000-4,000 at the most for one cohort group, maybe even less, if the class isn't that big. But I'm sure that these employers would be willing, especially, the ones that we've already worked with, to at least pay something into this. And you're definitely right. There's nothing wrong with asking, these employers who are making money, that we would just come in and kind of provide an additional service. That doesn't hurt. And that's where we're going to get to the point where we're going to do that, so we can actually sustain these programs and what we're doing. We're going through a lot of changes here in our region, like how you all have like a lot of the changes, in your region too, with your workforce development board and everything. We're actually trying to model this stuff after the Alabama Works, stuff that they just recently went and visited and came back. And a lot of this is going to be, these businesses driving everything. So that's what we're going to be doing, educating the businesses and driving them forward. That's why we need to be there. And then we're going to also do an educators academy too in my region, where we have to bring in all these educators in the school systems and training providers and educate them on what's, being done and like the workforce system. So we really want to highlight some of these things. That's why there's a lot of push for me to make sure I get everything in order, that I have the data to back things up as well, and that we're successful in our IET programs and everything else that we do.
So in the chat, Xavier says, at the English Empowerment Center, they charge employers. He thinks their standard minimum is $5,000 for a 50-hour class, and they sometimes negotiate. Xavier, I was going to ask you, because you said it was with the hotels and housekeeping. A while back, I know that your program also did a program that led to a certification. Is this different?
Yeah, thanks for the question. It is different. We've certainly tried to pitch it's the Certified Guest Service Professional certification. We try to pitch that to employers, or a slightly easier just Foundations of Customer Service curriculum. But most of the employers that end up signing an MOU with us want something that's a little bit more customized and isn't, for them, I think they don't often see that hospitality credential as a big benefit for their employees. So it tends to be separate. Yeah, we run those IET cohorts more kind of integrated into some of our leveled English classes, and then do these workplace literacy classes separately.
It's a different path, yeah. Well, and I feel like in the workplace, I'm hoping, like in the one place that we did it for Route 11 CHIPS, it was so that they could promote these really good employees to another shift, so that they could get a day shift. So it was really empowering these employees to be able to advance. And that's crucial for the business, but crucial for families. There you feel like you're making a real impact in the family and the community. I know we have the push for certifications, but sometimes I think we have to stop and say, do the employers really care that they have a certification in such and such? What they really want is that they can come and do the job, and the certification might not always be the thing that shows that. In the chat, Xavier says, exactly, we really like partnering with employers that see the class as setting learners up for advancement and promotion. So that again helps you really narrow down the focus of what do they need to be able, to move up. What is it they can't do now that they need to be able to do? It's really fun being able to develop the curriculums and, starting from, backward design and where do you want them to be and what do you need to get there? And a lot of aha moments for the employers too. Like, oh, I didn't know they couldn't do this. Any other questions? If you haven't tried it, do you feel you might?
Definitely an option and a good way to get some more gains for our, that's not the end all, but, gains, but also connection to community.
I think one of the things I'm hoping, it's happening, is that the employees. I mean, this is what you're talking about, Luke, with your brand. The employers really want to advertise that they're doing this. So there we get our.
They want to look good too.
Yeah.
They definitely want to look good for the community, and I mean, they're wanting us to do pictures and putting it on social media, things like that, really promoting it, especially for the Runkin Pratt program, because that really impacts their image, because if they're saying like, their customers, who are people that are living in these facilities, cannot even communicate with people who are helping them or assisting them, that doesn't look too good for them, right? So this is an opportunity for us to come in and help provide those services and support them and make everyone's experience better, enhancing everyone's experience, whether it's for the customers that they have, their employees, for their supervisors and people who are high up, and the image that they have in the community as well, and as an employer, that they're taking care of the employees, and they've been great facilitating things, bringing desserts and food and drinks and everything. I mean, it's just, it's great to see, like what Xavier said, when you have an employer who does really care, and they get that, like it's all about their staff and taking care of them, because there's different ways to just get numbers, right, and results, but if you take care of your employees really well, eventually those numbers will, the results that you want will actually show up. So
well, we might be able to give you 9 minutes. You can get to lunch a little sooner. Are there any other questions or comments before we leave? Well, good luck. You know where to find us. And we're certainly happy to help. And for the MOU, I'm sure Jenna will appreciate you reaching out for that. And it is a template, so it's something that you can work with, but it is a really great starting place. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Enjoy the rest of your conference.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Luke and Sharon. Appreciate you.
Sorry for our trouble.
Yeah.
Glad
Hey,
we got it worked out.
hey, Amy, do we want to see if we want to try to do like a Zoom meeting with everybody? I'm wondering if, Sharon, if clearing the history browser would help as well, rather than just refreshing the page for those that had more difficulty. I don't know if that would make a difference.